Welcome to the channel, everyone. Today I'm going to get Bondo on this door. I know you've been waiting to see that. But before I get to that part, I want to show this book here. I did a video about heat shrinking, and I referenced this book here that I got in the trade school back in middle 70s. And I probably didn't show the title of it, but I get comments all the time on what's the name of this book. The Principles of Auto Body Repair and Repainting. Now, I don't think it's available anymore. At the time I did that video, I looked on Amazon and it was available, but they might have just had one copy. So for right now, I'm not finding anything in a search. So you may want to check, used bookstores. Look, maybe there's other sites online, but like I said, I get a lot of comments what this book is. So there's a lot of good stuff in here. A lot of it doesn't apply today, just like the heat shrinking video. It doesn't apply on these new cars. But this goes back, it covers mostly the cars in here from the 50s and 60s, but it's the old school way of leading and filing and picking and hammering and all that kind of stuff. There's trim and convertible tops, and it's got all kinds of information. It's good reading. Even though a lot of it isn't relative today, it's a good basic start. But anyway, if you can find that book, good luck. So before we get started actually putting our Bondo on here, I'm going to show you a couple of ways, different options to do this. And I've covered this in another video, or maybe several of them on Bondo, but I'm going to go over it again today in case you haven't seen those. So I'm going to do some diagrams on my whiteboard and show you what I'm talking about. All right, here's our panel that we're going to fill. And say there's a low spot that we either couldn't get 100%, or in this case I was worried about overstretching it, so I'm going to leave that. Now usually what people do, say you want to fill from here to here, and you come in here with a coat of Bondo, and you're going to put pressure on this. You want to avoid pinholes. You want it to adhere good to the metal, so you want to put some pressure on there with your applicator, but it'll follow that low spot. So you're going to come in here, you're going to sand all this down, everything blocks out nice, but you still got that low spot, and you need another coat in there. So you got both sides pretty much where you want it, and you're going to put another coat on here. Well, now you're going to come back and you're concentrating on sanding this, but you're going to be cutting into your filler here. You're going to be cutting into your filler here. By the time you're done, it's going to feel like a washboard. So the guys will come in and, well, I got a low spot. I'm going to fill this again. I'm going to fill that again. Well, you're just compounding the problem. Now you got multiple layers. It's going to be all ripply. So you got two options to avoid all of this. Saves a whole lot of time. Here's our panel, there's our low spot. Come in here and just mix up enough Bondo and just fill that in. That's all we're going to worry about. It's just that low spot. Get it taken out of the way, taken care of. And let that dry. It doesn't have to dry a long time. We're not worried about doing much feathering, but we're just going to take 80 grit on a DA and just cut that down. We're just going to float over it, cut it down. It's good. It feels good. It filled most of it in. And then once we come over here with our top coat, the top coat isn't very smooth there, but anyway, one top coat over there. Now you've got a pretty uniform surface to start with, and it's going to make your sanding go a whole lot easier. You don't have to come back and chase that. Okay, here's the other option. Same thing. We've got our panel. We've got our low spot. And we just put our one coat on there, and we come back, and now we still have to fill this in. Don't just put a coat right there. Come in here, even though you got this pretty much about a 90% where you want it, put a skim coat over the whole thing. Just go from one end to the other and just skim coat it. That way you've got one uniform layer of Bondo. It's mixed the same from one end to the other, and most of this on both these ends will disappear because you've already got the first layer where you wanted it, but it'll sand a lot easier. You don't have to worry about getting undercutting it and coming back and chasing it. So one coat over the whole thing to fill in. You may have several low spots here and there. Don't just hit those spots. Just coat over the whole thing, start from scratch. Either one of these options will save you a whole bunch of time. So right now, I'm going to get some Bondo mixed up. We'll get on this door and we'll see how it comes out. Okay, so somehow I lost the video clip, but I went with option one, which was to mix up a small amount of Bondo, fill in that couple of little low spots on the back edge of the door, get that first now taken care of. So I'm running the DA over with 80 grit. So let's continue on.
All right, that come out real nice. Everything got filled in good, and what I'm looking for is any high spots, and I don't have any, which tells me the body work is good. I don't have anything I got to come back and tap on it, try and get it pushed down or grind it off, file it off. Everything looks good. I've got a couple pinholes in here. Now, when I started with this Bondo, I put quite a bit of pressure on the applicator to make sure there's no pinholes down at the base, make sure it's got good adhesion. Then at that point, I'm just going to float over, not too much pressure. I don't want to push the Bondo out of any low spots. I just want to bridge over, and that's when you'll get a few pinholes. But perfect time to take care of them now, because I'll just take a little bit on the applicator, wipe over this, that'll squeeze into there, and I'll continue on with my top coat, and we should be good to go. So I'm going to mix up some Bondo right now. When I put this on, I want to feather this edge a little bit. I don't want to leave a sharp edge with this Bondo, so I try and taper it back with the applicator. It'll make sanding this out a whole lot easier. Even though this doesn't need a lot of Bondo to finish it, I don't want to skimp putting it on. I want to make sure that I don't have to come back because I got a small low spot. So I mix up plenty so I can put a nice even coat on here. And the plan is, this is the last coat. I shouldn't have to touch this again. And I know guys will say, well, yeah, if you put enough Bondo on there, you could fix anything. But we'll see how much is left on here when I'm done sanding. It should be minimal. And we're going to call that good. All right, let's talk about this Bondo for a minute. You younger technicians don't realize how easy you got it. This Bondo sands so much nicer than it used to years ago. If there's any old timers out there watching this video, do you remember 40, 50 years ago what Bondo was like to sand? I remember using Ditzler 999 for years. That's what we use in a couple different shops. And that stuff was like sanding concrete. If you let it sit overnight, the next day you had even more work. So usually what we had to do is take a grinder over this just to get it where you could sand it. You'd have to knock it down and kind of shape it with a grinder. That's how tough it was. Now this stuff here, if you're not careful, you can put a lot of deep sand scratches in here. So I don't use anything coarser than 80 grit in here. That's all you need to start with. Now the key with this stuff is to have patience. Let it dry. This here, I'm gonna let it sit and dry overnight. So what I usually do, if I started this project first thing in the morning, and that's from gutting the door, getting off the car, doing my body work on, my goal would be to have Bondo on here sometime in the afternoon and just let it sit overnight. It's not gonna make it too hard to sand, and it keeps from getting deep sand scratches in here. It'll feather out nicer, so don't get in a hurry with it. Let it sit, let it cure. Even if it's 2 or 3 hours, it'll help. You know, there's always another car you can work on while this is in process, but it just makes it come out a lot nicer. So the next video, this door will be done. I'll talk about times involved, give another kind of analysis over the whole repair procedure. So look forward to that. And if you like this video, give me a thumbs up. Remember, hit that subscribe button, and thanks for watching.